Every year, hundreds of children disappear from the streets of Kenya. But who takes them and where they end up has always been a mystery. Until now. For over a year, Africa Eye has been investigating the underground trade in Kenyan children, going undercover to expose the networks that snatch babies from homeless mothers. That sell children to the highest bidder in underground clinics. And even in our most prestigious government hospitals. It is a trade that leaves trauma and devastation in its wake.
I've not slept since Thursday till now. I can't.
Mbona nichukule mtoto wale na sijashindwa kulenda gani kwa street. Anirudishie mtoi wangu na waache kutuibia watoto.
It is the shame of our nation.
This business has to stop. It has to stop.
The story I'm about to tell you is my worst nightmare. For years, an illegal black market in children has been operating in Kenya.
A series of abductions targeting children has rocked Nairobi recently, sending chills down the spines of many parents.
This underground trade offers desperate women a quick alternative to Kenya's complex adoption laws.
It is a business stripped of any human emotions. Babies here are just another trading commodity. They are casually equated to grains.
Police investigations revealed that the baby was shortly after being abducted, delivered to a separate woman who allegedly bought the baby for 25,000 bob.
It is a trade in human lives that preys on our most vulnerable women, leaving unimaginable trauma in its wake.
Police are calling on any person who might have lost a child to report at the Flying Squad offices in Pangani.
Most importantly, do not let your child wander the streets unaccompanied.
For over a year, we have been investigating this secretive trade. The trail has led us from the slums of Nairobi to some of Kenya's most prestigious government hospitals. During our investigation, we've met countless women like Susan, desperate mothers searching for their missing children, often for years after they were stolen. Susan is not alone. Her neighbor June understands her pain. Her child too was stolen by traffickers and has never been seen since. Susan has tried everything, reaching out to local media, the police, even conducting door-to-door searches, but to no avail. It has been 4 years of agony.
Mtoto wako alikuwa wa miaka ngapi?
Alikuwa na miaka 3 na miezi 4.
Na alipotea lini?
2016.
Unajua ni nani alimuiba?
Sijui ni nani alimchukua. Hiyo kijana yangu nikienda kwa barabara nipata mtoto anafanana na yeye. Nasikia vibaya. Nikasema tafadhali ingemshika nione tu alikufa nimshike baada ya kupotea na mtu.
Uko hopeful atapatikana?
Atapatikana. Hata saa ingine watoto wao wanasemaga, kwani waliiba mtoto wetu, kwa nini arudishaje?
I'm so sorry.
As a mother, I've been profoundly affected by the stories of women like Susan. Now, I want to find out who the baby traffickers are and just how big a problem this really is in Kenya.
Hello. You're good? I'm good.
I am on my way to meet Judith Kanaya, a journalist with Ghetto Radio. For years, she's been reporting on the plight of women like Susan. Many mothers of missing children reach out to Ghetto Radio in the desperate hope that their children can be found.
There was this complaint on slum women and street family children, mothers. They were like, our kids are being stolen and nobody is helping us. So I took that initiative to know what is happening in those streets. This thing is big. Many don't realize how big it is.
According to Judith, there is a thriving black market for babies in the slums of Nairobi, especially Kayole, home to thousands of the city's poorest residents.
Most of the clinics in Kayole, they do those business. They sell children. If you go to any clinic, just you say like, I can't give birth, I need a baby. They're willing to sell you a baby. And it's a business that is booming. They're making a lot of money.
Judith has got a lead on an illegal clinic in Kayole, where she's heard that babies are being sold. There are dozens of unlicensed clinics in this area. They often have delivery rooms for expectant mothers, and they are widely rumored to be a hotbed for child trafficking. This clinic is operated by a woman known as Mary Auma. She claims to be a former nurse who has worked in some of Nairobi's biggest hospitals. Judith has convinced Mary that she's unable to conceive and is eager to buy a child.
I went to her clinic and I found 2 women in the room.
The women are in labor and are about to give birth. Mary tries to sell one of the babies to Judith, even before they have left the womb. Mary points out one of them, who she says has already agreed to sell her child. The women are in intense pain and need attention. Mary's business partner is called in to help. But she quickly returns to business.
So she was like, I want to sell you one of these babies.
Mary appears to have little concern for the mothers at her clinic. As soon as she has sold their children, she sends them back to the streets. Mary doesn't just sell babies. She also provides her clients with illegally obtained birth registration documents. It is a complete package.
So asked, like, what are the procedures, paperwork? And she was so much assuring me, like, we have our people, they will help you to register your child under your name, under your custody.
Mary claims to work with a network of corrupt officials, working in government hospitals and the local authorities. Once a child is sold, Mary's customers are provided with illegally obtained official documents which identify the buyer as the child's mother. The child's true identity is erased forever.
Birth certificate onyola tsane wenyene tsinyanga tsibiri nonyola notification lonyola tsakatefisa fangulo wanyo andikirwe oandikirwa sa naiswa.
Mary promises to call Judith when the babies are born. I'm shocked to see that children are being sold so openly here in the heart of Nairobi. This evidence alone is enough to send Mary Auma to prison for up to 30 years. Judith's undercover recordings seem to confirm the existence of a thriving black market for children in Kenya. But our investigation was soon to take an even darker turn. An estimated 60,000 children sleep on the streets of Nairobi. They too have become prime targets of the child traffickers.
Hizi ni nguo hadi na hizi ni mablanketi. Bora tu iko kubwa kaisa hivi, umezoziwa tu hivyo mbao moja hivi. Sasa hizi kinyeshewa itabaki jioni tena tumebai zingine. Juu tuna mali tunaweza weka.
Unajua atakushika hivi. Hata anakuza bakofu.
I am approached by Rebecca. She has been homeless for years and has raised her children on the streets of Nairobi. She knows the dangers that homeless mothers face more than most.
Hadi naanza penye tu ulala. Kwangu umeridhika usingizi, umejiekelea hapa ndani jivanji. Imagine Adina ni mchana mtu anakuja na kubebea mtoto cause mimi nimeshikadi mbaba. Wezi acha mtoto wako hapa peke yake. Ati ujisaidie mahali kama pale. Utapata ile unajisaidia unajua utashinda kujisaidia kama umeangalia mtu hivi. Kienda kujua huko umemaliza kujisaidia mtoto wako amedisappear. Sasa hiyo ndio life na sikupenda kwetu tukae kwa street. Waache kutuibia watoi.
Almost a decade ago, Rebecca herself fell victim to the traffickers. Her child was stolen from her as she slept and has never been seen since.
Mimi shida yangu ni moja, mimi nilipotezanga mtoto 2011 March, I think date 13 sitajasahau. Saa 8 kugutuka nikapata sina mtoto. Na siwezi kuambia nani alichukuanga mtoi wangu na anaitwa Lawrence Josiah. Nikamtafuta hadi center ingine, nimetembea hadi center sijui huku Kiambu, sijui nikaambiwa sijui Kayole. Sijaipata mtoi wangu. Mtoi sisi ako na miaka 10 ukihesabu. Ako, sijaimuona. Mujipe tu hope. Ataja tu kuja kani wangu. Wale mimi naweza tamani tu kumuona, niridhike. Na kama alikufa nijue alikufa. Jua huwa mtoto ako na mama anasafa. Hata kani na wengine. Ule ndiye alifanya nikajua mimi ni mzazi. Mbona nichukulie mtoto wale na sijashindwa kula hata kani niko kwa street. Anirudishie mtoi wangu na ache kutuibia watoto.
I can't wait.
I've met 3 ladies today who lost their children, got snatched in the streets in their sleep, and they haven't seen them in so many years. They don't know whether they're alive or dead, but they still have hope that they'll see their children someday. I hope with them that they will find their children someday.
But who are the shadowy figures preying on these women? We've been approached by an informant. At great personal risk, she has managed to infiltrate a network of traffickers that specifically target homeless mothers. She has agreed to speak on condition that we hide her identity.
There is this girl, her name is Anita. She's been stealing kids and selling them.
Where does she get the children from?
To street families.
How much does she sell the children for?
She told me if I bring a baby girl, it's 50, boy 80.
50,000?
Yeah. But
and a boy 80,000?
Yes. But the kid must be under 3 years.
So does Anita have different...
Yes.
She sells?
Yes.
She can sell to?
Yes.
So it's whoever gives her the best price?
Yes.
Why is it important for you to talk about this?
Okay, there's this woman in our area. 12 years ago, her child lost, and the boy was 2 to 3 years. Since then, if this woman hears a baby crying, she thinks the kid is hers. And you can imagine it's 12 years. She still has that pain. So I'm a mother too. I always felt for that woman. That's why I decided this is too much. We have to stop this.
Our contact has managed to convince Anita that she wants in on the baby theft business. She agrees to go undercover, but the risks are high. Anita is a heavy drug user and has a history of violence.
Alafu, hapa hata kuna maji tunaweza beta kasoda tukunywe. Wapi? Pale. Si tuende tukunywe, tukaya chini tukunywe. Ile ni pub.
Anita claims to be working for a local businesswoman who buys stolen babies from petty criminals and sells them on for a huge profit. But where exactly do the children end up?
Sasa Anita, unaonaje? Mother, unajua mimi kwanza pana swali najiuliza. Ushajua mali wapeleka?
Okay, hizo tunaweza kuite ya kwanza, wengine wanabare. Kama venye naweza kutulia. Wengine pia wanatoa sacrifice. Wengine wanatoa sacrifice. Tunaweza kutambulia mapotea kama kama street. Na Florence ndio anakaa sana, je muona na je shaka.
Na Anita umefanya kazi miaka ngapi?
Nimefanya miaka kama 10.
Anita is playing a dangerous game. Every time she steals a child, she risks a heavy prison sentence. And according to our source, Anita is a prolific child snatcher.
Do you know how many children she might have taken?
Yeah, she told me she has like more than 10. The one that she can remember.
But how many Anitas are out there on our streets? The simple answer is that we just do not know. There are no reliable statistics on child trafficking in Kenya. No government reports, no comprehensive national surveys. We really have no idea how big a problem child trafficking is. It's not long before Anita calls our source to another meeting. She tells us her boss has been pressuring her to steal more babies, and Anita appears to have obliged.
Venye ulimpata kwa street gani na ulimtoa tao kwa mahoka au mademu angana ulimtoa kwa
sio tu wa kizifuku. Ni kama jaga ni kwa mgeni. Mama gani kwa factories. Hata sijua maneno yako. Soda mwenye ajuangu. Nikala chini nikiwa.
Wewe akakutrustia mtoto? Mtoto wajeni ndivyo ulimchukuaje akakubali kufuatana na wewe mpaka sasa yuko na yeye? Hiyo story hebu nipe juu sielewi.
Unajua mtu ni mwenye anaweza mtreat.
Why did she start doing this?
She told me that she's desperate. Now she feels like she has nothing to lose. Anita, she's a bad news. That's what I can say.
This horrific trade in children should not be happening. It runs counter to the traditional values that we as Africans hold dear, values which bind us together as a society, as a people. The well-being of our children is not just the responsibility of individual families, but also the entire community. So why does this illicit trade in human lives seem to be thriving?
Hello?
I went to meet Mariana Munyendo, the founder and CEO of Missing Child Kenya. As we arrived, Mariana had just received a call from a desperate parent whose child had disappeared.
Wewe ndo mama mtoto amepotea? Okay.
This is just one of almost 600 cases that Mariana has recorded over the past 3 years.
Ngai ana miaka ngapi? 13 years, eh?
The majority of them have been here in Nairobi.
Ukinipa hizi nitatengeneza alert sai tufanye kudistribute kwa network yetu ya police officer, children's homes sai jioni kabla tulale tuensure watu wameanza kuipata ya.
How big would you say this issue is in Kenya?
This is a big issue in Kenya. So there's a lot of underreporting, there's a lot of cultural issues, and there's a lot of long-term established cartels that are even protecting each other. One of the biggest reasons we have is we are Africans. We have the culture that to keep a marriage, you have to have a child. And on top of that, you also have to have a boy. So you go back to the village and they call you, you're barren. They call you a dry piece of wood. So what do you do to save your marriage? You steal a child.
Do you know anything about how much children are sold for, depending on gender, depending on age? Do you know anything about that?
Child trafficking is a business, so it has demand and supply. And so there was something that came up in 2016. The average income of a Kenyan, annual income, was 2,500 USD, the average Kenyan. And at that point, children were being sold in the slum areas for around 3,000 USD. And so it made trafficking very lucrative, because why should I labor and work for one whole year for 2,500 US dollars when I can be able to just quickly grab a child and sell them for 3,000 US dollars? And if I sell 3, 4, 5, I am in good business. Yeah.
The profits from child trafficking are huge. But desperate opportunists like Anita can only dream of such riches. She calls our informant to a meeting. To her horror, she finds that Anita has stolen yet another baby.
Anita yako raru tirako. Neke gai.
Ara nyira ite tukune gele hane gere gumiri.
Okay, bana mwana.
Kwa maziwa sinaona kakona wheat na kakona 5 months.
Ulijuaje miezi yake?
Si nilikuwa na kadi nilipita nayo.
Gai. Zote. Kwa hivyo ukipatiana unapatia hadi na kadi.
Si ndio. Jioni.
Anita claims she already has a buyer lined up for the baby who is prepared to pay her 50,000 shillings. In a desperate attempt to stop Anita from selling the child, our informant tries to lure Anita into a more lucrative deal.
Kuna mjamaa aliniunganisha na mama. Mama ana mtoi, anataka mtoi mbaya. Mama amekubalia atatoa hata kama ni kieti. Kuliko huyo mwingine wa kichwani, huyo anatoa kieti.
Siko sawa. Hiyo business tutape kesho kama itakuwa possible.
Kesho.
Anita appears to have taken the bait. Now it's up to us to try and rescue the child and get Anita off the streets. It's the morning of the deal. We have reported the case to the police. They have launched an undercover operation to take down Anita.
For eyewitness.
The police have decided that I should pose as the buyer and that a policewoman should accompany me pretending to be my maid.
That is why.
The female commanding officer instructs me on how I should act.
Hata wapo unaenda tu unasimama tu yani uko.
Wewe unakaaje?
Unakaaje kuja usongee uchukue mtoto? You know? This kind of stuff.
It's the first time I've gone undercover, and the stakes could not be higher.
How will you know, by the way?
I brief our informer on the plan.
When I see the baby, I give Nancy. And then I say, niko na pesa, nitawaacha hapa, wacha ni get hii ingine. Ndio hii pesa ile niko nayo. And then that's the cue for the arrest to be made.
We need to convince Anita that I am a genuine buyer. We only have one shot at saving the child. It has to work. The team are in place, so we head to the meeting point. Anita has called us to her base, a notorious back street in downtown Nairobi. Anita appears, but she seems cautious. She's in disguise, and to my dismay, there is no sign of the baby.
Anita?
Now I must convince her that I am a real customer with a genuine problem.
Nimetry lakini siwezi. Yeah. Na sasa unajua once umejua kitu kaa hiyo unafanya kudi. Ni aliniambia nikuje niongee na wewe.
Mimi nataka hiyo. Dukachali nilishika haraka chooni.
Katika chali?
Chooni nilikuwa nimeshika haraka 50. Sasa sawa.
Suddenly, our meeting is interrupted by a local police officer who is enforcing COVID restrictions. He has no idea that an active police operation is underway, or that Anita is the target of a sting.
Tutembee tu na wewe. Tutembee tu pole pole.
As soon as the police leave, Anita continues the negotiations. She seems keen to finalize the deal. And she assures me it's not the first time. Anita agrees to the deal. We arranged to meet later that afternoon.
When I first saw her, I think my immediate reaction, I panicked because she didn't have the baby. I was like, she wants to size me up because she also wants to see if I'm legit. But she didn't have many questions for me, really. So we've agreed that the baby will be back by 5 latest and that we should meet at 5 sharp. We hope that this is going to go through.
As 5 o'clock approaches, our team regroups. The trap is set. As soon as Anita arrives with the baby, the police will swoop in, arrest her, and release the child. But she never does. 5 o'clock comes and goes, but Anita is nowhere to be found.
So it's been a long day. We met at 2 o'clock with Anita. We went over the baby's details and how I was going to get the baby and how much I was going to buy the baby for. But then she was to deliver the baby at 5. So we went there a little before 5 and she did not show up. So we hope that she will get in touch and she will bring the baby next time and we can save this baby and we can stop Anita from destroying other children's lives and other families' lives.
But Anita never calls. A few days later, we get word that she sold the baby to a higher bidder. Our attempt to reunite the child with its mother has failed. The police will continue their search for Anita. But tonight, like every night, thousands of children will sleep on the streets of our capital. And those who prey on them are watching, waiting for their moment to pounce. The more we dig into this secretive trade, the more I realize that it is not just opportunists like Mary Auma or criminals like Anita that are preying on our children. The problem has now reached some of our most trusted public institutions. According to our research, child trafficking rings are operating within the walls of some of Nairobi's biggest hospitals. In 2019, KTN journalist Hussein Mohammed launched an undercover investigation into conditions at Mama Lucy, a busy Nairobi hospital that has been plagued by allegations of malpractice.
We got information from mothers who came to us and to our desk telling us that there are issues which are happening, which are not good, happening at Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital. So we are getting complaints of corruption inside the facility. Once we went down and did our investigations, we found that it is true that what most mothers were saying was happening in the hospital.
Hussein's team captured shocking images of appalling conditions within the hospital's maternity unit. They also found compelling evidence of child trafficking within the facility.
Even filmed a nurse based in the maternity section telling us that there have been issues and there have been incidents of where children have been sold, where a couple has come and they want a child and the child has been sold. And the nurse on the record tells us that, if you want a baby, this is how much you need to part with.
So you can verify that this is real and there are people who are doing it as a business.
When we posed as buyers asking to buy a child, the nurse was willing. I mean, we said we need to part this amount of money. So these were things that we were still trying to gather before we buy the child. And the nurse was assuring us that it will not be a problem.
We decided to investigate Hussein's claims. In March 2019, we were approached by a whistleblower. He's worked in the child welfare sector for years. He claimed to have infiltrated an active child trafficking ring operating within Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital. It wasn't the first case of trafficking he had come across. He claimed to have reported multiple cases of child trafficking at a number of other institutions, but no action was ever taken. So he decided to hand his information to Africa Eye. He identified a man who he says was actively involved in selling children, Fred Leparan, a clinical social worker employed by Mama Lucy. It's Fred's job to protect the well-being of vulnerable children born at the facility. But instead, it appears he is willing to sell them to the highest bidder. For over 6 months, our source infiltrated Fred's network, winning their confidence and even attending meetings where he claims to have witnessed the sale of babies born at Mama Lucy. We decided to investigate these claims. Our whistleblower agrees to go undercover and arranges a meeting with Fred. He tells him he's been approached by a family friend who is desperate to buy a child after failing to conceive.
Ameniambia tumesukuma na yeye. Akaniambia tukafikiana 300. Nikamwambia nakuja kukutana na wewe ndio at least niweze kumaliza na wewe. Tupange appointment na yeye. Mama.
Ni mtu mwenye namwamini watu. Siku ile nilishtuka bado nashtuka.
Ni mtu namwamini sana.
The deal is far from done, but already Fred seems to have a child lined up for sale.
Niko na huyo mtoto na ni boy.
Ni mzuri, ako na afya.
Jana ndiye aliachwa.
Na aliachwa mwenye kumwacha kwa wapi?
Mwenye alimwacha alipeleka tu kama hospitali, ako na 2 weeks, 2 days. Kamwacha tu hospitali akaenda.
Hajawahi rudi.
Hajawahi rudi.
Na mna dalili ya kurudi kwake?
Dalili hakuna.
According to our source, this is not the first time Fred has sold a child from the hospital, but he's still cautious.
Suppose we do this. Najua nataka kitu yenye isitulete shida baadaye.
Tufanye nini? What do you think?
Course, mama akiona ni swana in case of anything, si atajua nafanya mamalusi. Ulimwambia nafanya mamalusi?
No, sure.
Tufanye hivi. Mimi nataka clean bill.
Fred agrees to meet. He thinks he's meeting a potential customer. But the person he's meeting is an undercover reporter, pretending to be a woman desperate to buy a baby. We'll call her Rose. Fred agrees to meet Rose at an office close to Mama Lucy. Rose needs to convince him that she's a genuine buyer.
Fred asked me what my story was, why I wanted a child. It was kind of an introduction of sorts.
I see. Where is your husband?
He is in Dubai.
Dubai?
Yeah. I had to make sure that he understood the stakes were high for me. Because I had not yet had a child, it was affecting my marriage status. And so I wanted a child so that I could save my marriage.
We have been together for a very long time. And nothing has happened. That's pressure has started from family members that he needs to find another woman, and now what do I do?
Sasa nikumalizie. Umejaribu adoption process?
We have thought about it, but it seems like it's a bit complicated.
Fred seems assured by Rose's cover story and quickly gets down to business.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The thing is, it's a healthy child.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sasa, pia nikuguzia about the price.
Yeah, it's around 300. Can we discuss that, or you are? Yeah?
At least discuss it.
We cannot discuss. Okay, I mean, as a Kenyan, I have to try to. But at least
Fred is warming up to the deal, but he seems nervous. He knows that if things go wrong, he could face up to 30 years in prison for child trafficking.
Na unajua ni kurisk. Sawa? Na pia sisi tutaki uharibu maisha yetu ama uharibie mtu. Kitu kama ni kufanya, tufanye watu watatu, mimi, wewe na. Unajua shida yangu mimi nilikuwa kuamini mtu. Unajua ni kurisk. Mimi naogopa sana.
He said that he would think about it, and once he thought about it, that he would get in touch with me.
So, wacha tujaribu. Then we'll let you know probably leo. Kesho asubuhi. Kesho.
We have no idea whether Fred will deliver on the deal. This could just be a bluff. But the very next morning, Rose receives a message. It's from Fred. And the deal is on.
I was told to go to Mama Lucy, to the hospital, early in the morning, and pick the child there. So I went.
As Rose heads to Mama Lucy, Fred summons our whistleblower to the hospital's maternity unit. He has identified a child that he wants to steal and wants help to cover his tracks. Three babies at the facility have been abandoned by their mothers. They are due to be transferred to a local children's home. It's Fred's job to ensure they get there safely. But today, he has other plans. He's using this legitimate transfer as a smokescreen. According to his plan, only 2 of the babies will arrive. The other will be sold to Rose. But to get the children out of the hospital, he needs official documents authorizing their release. It's a simple scam. Fred knows that once the babies have left Mama Lucy, there is only a slim chance that anyone from the hospital will bother to check that the children have actually arrived at the home. The staff have no idea that a child is being stolen on their watch. Fred knows he is running a huge risk, but there are $3,000 at stake, and it's a gamble he seems prepared to take. The paperwork is completed, and Rose is waiting. Our source suggests calling her in, but Fred is jumpy. Rose waits in a vehicle by the entrance. Fred has convinced the nurses that she is a worker from the children's home who has come to collect the babies. He orders the nurses to deliver them to her. His plan seems to be working. He then points out the child that will be given to Rose, a baby boy. The nurses deliver the babies to Rose. They have no idea that they are complicit in the trafficking of a child.
I was shown the child that I would get. It was a baby boy. And there were 2 other children, so there were 3 children total that we were taking to the children's home.
Fred steps out to make sure that Rose has received her baby. But then he finds an excuse to leave. But he assures us that the coast is now clear. Fred assures us that nobody from the hospital will check if the children arrived at the home. Once she has gone past hospital security, Rose can simply disappear with the baby that Fred has just sold her.
What was shocking to me was how easy it was to walk out of the hospital with the children. It took us less than 3 seconds to get out.
Yes. I have 3 children. Yes. I will not abandon the children.
Rose and our source immediately delivered all 3 of the babies to the children's home, including the one she has just bought. They will be cared for at the home until a legitimate adoption can be arranged. They at least are now safe from the traffickers.
Hi.
Hi.
Later that afternoon, Fred calls Rose to a meeting. He thinks the operation has been a success. Now he wants his money.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much. I am happy. I am happy.
I came in with the money. He wanted to make sure that I had the money.
So, as we see, we don't have a bad, but
I put it on the table, he took the money, and that was it.
Sasa kenye utafuatilia niliambiwa ukiona hii shindano kama haijatokezea utarudishwa atakubana na fulani mwenye anafanya somewhere. Na ni vizuri pia utafute nutritionist atakuwa kikunini kuelimisha.
That is good. That is fine.
Na pia kuchunge pia sana.
I was shocked that something like this could happen in Nairobi so easily. He did not even ask for my ID. There was absolutely nothing to verify that I was who I said I was, and that child was not going to be used for any illicit behavior or whatever it was. How many other people have walked out of there with children in their hands? And I thank God that I was able to at least save one child.
It's been several months since Fred sold a baby to our undercover reporter. We've heard he's still working at Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital.
Fred is charged with the responsibility of taking care of vulnerable children. But instead, Fred uses this as an opportunity to make some money for himself on the side. I don't understand why somebody would do something like this.
So we decided to confront him with our evidence.
We have a reason to believe that you're involved in child trafficking. What do you have to say about that?
Me.
Huh?
Me?
Yes, you.
No.
You sold to one of our informants a child for 300,000. What do you have to say about that? Lakini, shika ibarua basi usome, you can reply to me or you can call me. Thank you. I've gotten Mr. Fred Leparan and I've told him the information we have about him, and he seems to not have anything to say to us.
We put our allegations to him in writing, but he never responded. It's over a year since we first heard that Mary Auma was selling babies on the black market. But her clinic still seems to be in business. We sent our allegations to Mary Auma, but she did not respond. The same is true for Anita, who once again appears to have disappeared into the shadows. This investigation was only made possible through the bravery of our undercover reporters, who at great personal risk decided to take a stand. We can only hope that the release of this film will finally bring the crimes of those they have exposed to an end. Every day, another Kenyan mother suffers the trauma of losing a child solely for the profit of others. Their cries have been met with silence for too long.
The scenes that I have witnessed in the making of this investigation have shocked me to my core. As a woman, as a mother, as a Kenyan, traffickers are operating in plain sight. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of our children have been sold like cattle, stripped of their identity, of their roots. It's a national tragedy.
We as a society have allowed this to happen. Now, it is our responsibility to finally bring their torment to an end.